Backbush TV, like and subscribe, and welcome back to another video, another vlog. And today we're gonna just jump straight in another one here because we see over the years they must say, yo, Bob Marley get a jacket. And boy, Backbush TV, like and subscribe, we just jump in it and find out over the jacket. We're going it, mad.
Welcome to a story that transcends the rhythms of Jamaica's streets and dives straight into the heart of legacy, identity, and the unbreakable bonds of family. Or are they? Imagine this. A name that echoes through generations, a surname synonymous with revolution, unity, and the soul-stirring beats of roots reggae. Bob Marley, the man who turned pain into poetry, oppression into anthems, and a small island's cry into a global roar. Now, picture his youngest son, Damion Marley Jr. Gong, the lyrical prodigy who fused hip-hop fire with reggae's eternal flame, stepping out from under that colossal shadow, not with mic in hand, but with a bombshell that has left the world gasping. A DNA test, a revelation that shatters assumptions, and a deliberate, heart-wrenching decision to sever ties with the very empire built on his father's name. It's early 2025, and the music world is still reeling. Damion Marley, after a decade of honoring the Marley mantle with grace and grit, has finally broken his silence. No dramatic press conference, no tear-streaked interview, just a quiet statement on his website. Sometimes the truth comes late, but it still comes. What followed? Reports of a private DNA test confirming what whispers had hinted at for years. Damion is not Bob Marley's biological son. The fallout? He's pulled out of family tours, unfollowed official Marley channels, and redefined his path as Damion Robert Nesta, free from the weight of inherited royalty. Fans are divided, some heartbroken, others applauding his courage. The Marley estate, stone cold silent. And Rita Marley, Bob's widow, not a word. This isn't just tabloid fodder. It's a seismic shift in the narrative of one of music's most iconic dynasties. Born in 1978 to beauty queen Cindy Breakspear amid Bob's whirlwind life. Still married to Rita, touring the globe, fighting cancer. Damion entered a world already buzzing with the Marley mythos. Raised not in the gritty heart of Trenchtown, but in the upscale hills of Stony Hill by his mother and stepfather, Tom Tavares Finson, he navigated a childhood split between privilege and the echoes of revolution. Music called early. By his teens, he was forming band with other reggae heirs, but Damion always marched to his own drum. His 2005 masterpiece, Welcome to Jamrock, didn't just win Grammys. It dissected Jamaica's soul with unflinching honesty, proving he was no mere heir, but a force unto himself. Yet, beneath the accolades, questions lingered. Why the subtle distance from family ventures? Why the genre-bending collaborations that felt like quests for something deeper? Albums like Distant Relatives with Nas weren't accidents. They were searches for roots beyond bloodlines. And now, a truth unearthed that forces us to ask, what makes a legacy? Is it DNA or the stories we tell? The love we claim? As we unpack this saga, Damion's shadow beginnings, his meteoric rise, the whispers that grew into roars, and the silence that screams, we'll explore not just a family's fracture, but man's triumph of reclaiming a self. Buckle up, because this journey through the Marley maze will challenge everything you thought you knew. Hit that like button if you're ready for the revelation. Subscribe for more deep dives into music's untold truths. And let's dive in. The shadow of a legend awaits. The shadow of a legend, Damion's complicated beginnings. To understand the earthquake that hit in 2025, we have to rewind to 1978, a year when disco fever gripped the world. But in Jamaica, a quieter revolution was brewing in the form of a baby boy named Damion Robert Nesta Marley. Conceived amid the chaos of Bob Marley's meteoric rise, Damion arrived on July 21st, just months before his father's diagnosis with melanoma would cast a pall over the family's future. Bob, at 33, was at the peak of his powers. Exodus had just dropped, blending spiritual fire with universal appeal, and he was jet setting between stages in Europe, protests in Zimbabwe, and the intimate tensions of a polygamous life that blurred lines between love, loyalty, and legacy. Cindy Breakspear, Damion's mother, wasn't just any woman in Bob's orbit. Crowned Miss World 1976, the first Jamaican to claim the title. She embodied grace under pressure, a biracial beauty whose poise masked the scrutiny of being the other woman in a marriage to Rita Marley, Bob's steadfast partner and the mother of four of his children. Rita, herself a trailblazer as one of the I3's backing vocalists, had long navigated Bob's extramarital affairs with a mix of Rastafarian forgiveness and fierce independence. But Cindy's relationship with Bob was different, passionate, public in whispers, and culminating in Damion, the 13th acknowledged child in a sprawling Marley brood that included Ziggy, Stephen, Robbie, and more. Bob, ever philosopher-poet, reportedly embraced Damion from the start, bestowing the middle name Nesta after his own, a nod to lineage that felt ironclad in those early days. Yet, for Damion, the cradle rocked on unstable ground. Bob passed away on May 11th, 1981, when Damion was barely 2.5, old enough to register loss in fragments, too young to etch memories. I don't have personal stories of my father. Damion would later reflect in rare interviews, his voice steady but laced with that quiet ache. It's all secondhand, tales from my mom, aunts, uncles, photos where he's holding me, looking at me like I'm his world. But it's like piecing together a puzzle with half the pieces missing. That void wasn't just emotional. It was logistical. Unlike his half-siblings raised in the communal Marley fold, Trenchtown's raw energy shaping Ziggy's harmonies or Stephen's dub experiments, Damion was shuttled to Stony Hill, an affluent enclave in Kingston's Blue Mountains, far from the bullet-riddled streets where Bob forged Catch a Fire. There, under the care of Cindy and her husband, prominent attorney Tom Tavares Finson, whom Damion calls his stepfather with unfeigned affection, life unfolded in contrast sharp as a rhythm drop. Stony Hill offered manicured lawns, private schools, and a social circle of white Jamaicans, a term Damion used not bitterly, but observantly, highlighting the island's racial tapestries. My stepdad and my little brother and sister are white Jamaicans, he once shared in a 2010 Rolling Stone profile. It was interesting to grow up around that knowledge. The contrasts, racial, social, cultural. You learn early that identity isn't one lane. Tom, a towering figure in Jamaican law and politics, became the daily anchor, teaching Damion chess, debating philosophy, instilling a discipline that tempered the wild creativity inherited from Bob's side. Cindy, meanwhile, poured her artistic soul into her son, herself a painter, jazz enthusiast, and UNICEF ambassador, ensuring music wasn't absent, just reframed through jazz records and poetry slams rather than pure reggae immersion. This dual upbringing bred a duality in Damion that would define him. On one hand, he was reggae royalty by osmosis. Family gatherings of Hope Road, where aunts sang Whalers harmonies and cousins riffed on bass lines. On the other, he was the outsider kid, teased at school for his famous surname, yet shielded from its full glare. People would say, "You're Bob's son? Prove it." Damion recounted in a 2005 interview magazine sit-down. I'd shrug it off, but inside it planted seeds. Who am I beyond the name? Early visits to Trenchtown, those rare pilgrimages to the government yard where Bob honed his craft, felt like stepping into a myth. The scent of ganja smoke, the echo of gunshots, the elders recounting how Bob turned poverty into prophecy. It all mesmerized, but also alienated. Damion absorbed the lore. Bob dodging assassins in 1976, his conversion to Rastafari at 19, the way one love became a peace treaty during Jamaica's turbulent 70s elections. But without first-hand touch, it was reverence, not roots. As childhood bled into teens, that tension crystallized. At 13, Damion formed the Shepherds, a supergroup of sorts with kids of reggae legends like Judy Mowat's daughter and Ernest Wranglin's kin, channeling energy into original tracks that blended dancehall bounce with roots depth. Their sound was raw, unpolished, a teenage rebellion against the polished Marley machine. But even then, Damion's path forked. While brothers Ziggy and Stephen fronted the Melody Makers, touring as de facto Marley ambassadors, Damion stayed local, gigging in Kingston clubs, honing lyrics that dissected class divides. From the hills to the gully, the rich man's folly he'd spit, echoing Bob's social scalpel but slicing his own vein. This era wasn't without joy. Family barbecues where Rita, ever the matriarch, enveloped him in hugs at bridge gaps. Summers in Ethiopia, tracing Rastafarian origins, and Cindy's stories of Bob's tenderness, like the time he composed a lullaby for Damion amid tour chaos. Yet, the undercurrent of What If simmered. Whispers from extended kin, subtle asides about timelines, resemblances, Damien's lighter complexion mirroring Cindy's more than Bob's, never escalated to confrontation. In Jamaica's close-knit culture, where bloodlines blur and love trumps lab tests, such doubts were hushed. Damion, intuitive beyond years, sensed him anyway. I grew up knowing I was a Marley, he told The Guardian in 2012. But legacy isn't just birthright. It's what you build with it. By 18, that build began in earnest. Signing to Island Records, ironically Bob's label, Damion dropped Mr. E's USA, a dancehall-infused EP that nodded to American hip-hop without apology. It charted modestly, but the buzz was real. Here was a Marley unafraid to evolve the sound, not fossilize it. Critics praise his flow, a surgeon with syllables, Spin called it. Yet the subtext lingered. Is he Bob 2.0 or something singular? That question haunted his debut full-length, Halfway Tree in 2001, where tracks like More Time wrestle with mortality, faith, and fractured families. Fathers leave shadows longer than they know, he rapped, a line that now, in hindsight, feels prescient. As Party 1 draws to a close, we're left with the boy in the shadow, nurtured by love's mosaic, yet forever chasing a man he never met. Damion's early years weren't tragedy. They were a forge, tempering a spirit that would one day demand clarity over comfort. But how did that boy become a bard who redefined reggae? That's where Party 2 picks up, with the beats that broke barriers and the voice that refused to echo. Finding his voice, the rise from roots to global resonance. If Party 1 painted Damion as a child adrift in legacy's wake, Party 2 charts his ascent. A phoenix rising not from Trenchtown's ashes, but from Stony Hill's verdant heights, armed with a mic and a mission to carve autonomy from ancestry. The late 90s and early 2000s were Damion's proving grounds, a crucible where he shed the son of Suffolk's and forged Junior Gong, a moniker blending Rastafarian homage, Gong after the Nyabinghi drums, with street cred. At 18, fresh off the Shepherd's dissolution, he inked that island deal, but success wasn't handed. It was hustled. Kingston Sound Systems, those thunderous clashes where DJs battle like verbal gladiators, became his classroom. Night after night, under neon haze and bass that rattled bones, Damion toasted over rhythms, blending patois poetry with hip-hop cadence. It was survival, he later quipped in a Billboard oral history. In Jamaica, if your lyrics don't cut, you're cut. Mr. E's USA 1996 was the first swing, a 6-track EP heavy on dancehall's kinetic pulse, with cuts like Cool Down the Pace, sampling Bob's vibe but flipping it for a new millennium. It peaked at number 23 on the reggae albums chart, modest but seismic for a teen solo act. Critics noted the debt to Father, the skanking guitars, the spiritual undercurrents. But Damien's edge shone through, raw or Boehner, laced with critiques of post-colonial Jamaica's glitzy underbelly. He wasn't imitating. He was innovating, wrote the Jamaica Observer's Howard Campbell, praising how Damion wove global beats into local lore. Sales were niche, but word of mouth spread like bushfire. By 1998, he was opening for Lauryn Hill on her Miseducation tour, bridging reggae's island roots to hip-hop's concrete jungles. That exposure lit the fuse for Halfway Tree, 2001. His proper debut, a 16-track odyssey that climbed to number 81 on the Billboard 200 and snagged a Grammy nod for Best Reggae Album. Produced by Scott Cuban Larrock and mixed in Miami's Humid Studios, it was a sonic crossroads. Roots reggae's warmth clashing with dancehall's aggression, R&B hooks, and even electronica flourishes. Lead single Bow Down was a battle cry against industry snakes. Dem want to see a fall like Icarus, he snarled. Why it was written with Stephen Marley delved into fraternal bonds, a subtle nod to the siblings he admired yet outpaced in individuality. The album's heart, though, pulsed in Halfway Tree, a metaphorical olive branch to his bifurcated youth. Halfway between hills and hoods, faith and doubt, legacy and liberation. Reception was electric. Rolling Stone hailed it as a future of reggae, grittier than Dad's, but no less profound. Fans packed Kingston's Ward Theater for release parties, where Damion, dread swaying like pendulums, commanded stages with charisma that was Bob's echo but Damion's thunder. Yet, success amplified scrutiny. Tabloids dissected resemblances. Damien's sharp jawline versus Bob's softer contours. His hazel eyes echoing Cindy's more than Rita's brood. Is he really the spitting image? One Daily Mail piece pondered, igniting forum flames. Damien deflected with humor. Spitting image? Nah, I'm the remix version. Extra bass, updated code. The true detonation came with Welcome to Jamrock, 2005, the album that catapulted him from cult hero to cultural colossus. Conceived in a Kingston bungalow amid post 9/11 global unrest and Jamaica's spiraling violence, it was Damien's manifesto, a 14-track indictment of Paradise's paradoxes. The title track, a 9-minute epic produced by Damien himself, painted Jamrock not as sun-soaked idol but scarred terrain. Out in the streets, they hear your name slash the weed you sell bring federal grams. He rapped over a sample of the Rolling Stones' Start Me Up, flipped into a dirge of the displaced. It wasn't polemic for shock. It was precision, drawing from Stony Hill's vantage to spotlight gully-side despair, tourism's blind eye, and politics' poison. The world detonated. Released on September 12th, Jamrock debuted at number 41 on the Billboard 200, selling 26,000 copies first week. But the single? It stormed to number 1 on the reggae chart, crossed over to AAA radio, and even Gray's hip-hop playlists. A Grammy for Best Reggae Album followed in 2006, Damien's first solo win, accepted with a speech that nodded to Bob without kneeling. This is for the youth dem, building bridges where walls stood. Collaborations amplified the alchemy. Eve on Party Time, Bobby Brown adding soul to Hey Girl. But the core was Damien's, lyrics like scalpels, dissecting inequality with which sharper than scorn. Behind the triumph, though lay labor, recording sessions stretched 18 months. Damien holed up with engineers, tweaking mixes till dawn, infusing tracks with field recordings. Kingston traffic snarls, market hawkers calls, rain on tin roofs. I wanted it to feel alive, like Jamaica breathing through the speakers, he told NME. Influences
Backbush TV in a year for yourself. We don't really know if all of this is true. Know what I mean? Where they must spread propaganda upon Damion Marley name now say, yo, in my jacket. Backbush TV, like and subscribe. Leave on the thoughts and no comments and make me know what you think. Or if you did hear any propaganda like this before. It come really shocking for we hear this, you know, still, even though we did always hear a little scamming like this always go on. So I say about Bush TV, but leave in the thoughts and no comments and make we know what you think. You know what I mean? Because this just come out and boy, haunt Damion in a sense, you know, if you know say, yo, the man who him say I'm father turn out to be not his father. And I feel him fault that you have to go a whole attack with his mother and find out what did go on. You get what I say? Backbush TV, like and subscribe. Leave on the thoughts and all on the comments down below. But we know what go on because boy, now when you see it, any man can get a jacket, brother. You see it? Go for Bob Marley or hold on upon the jacket there for. Boy, it's serious. Backbush TV, like and subscribe. Woman them not play when them ready, brother. Get something here for just go and hold it. You see it? Mad.